Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am your host, Tom Downey. Training camp at long last. It is almost and already kind of, sort of, but not fully is here. However, the NFL is strongly considering and probably will implement a different roster limit this year because of COVID-19. Normally, it is 90. Right now, they've proposed in talks with the NFLPA cutting that down to 80. Nothing is official as of right now, but that appears pretty darn likely, which means some of those bottom of the roster players are going to end up getting cut before they really have a chance to prove they're worthy of a roster spot for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, before we break down some of the top 10 candidates, who else is glad that football is almost finally back? It's not going to be the normal training camp. We're not going to get the preseason, but I'm just glad to have football back. We need it right now. And if you agree, I want everyone to like this video. We're going to begin at quarterback, Clayton Thorson. Now, in most years, I actually prefer having 4 quarterbacks in camp. You need the camp arm. This year, though, I kind of want to give Ben DiNucci, future Hall of Famer, just so we're clear, as many reps as possible. I want that for the Cowboys. Dak's going to get his. Dalton's going to get his. Let's just give them all to the Nooch. Give them all to Ben DiNucci, who has some promise. He made some nice plays at James Madison. I was kidding when I said he's a future surefire Hall of Famer because I think you all picked up on that, I hope. But I'm going to give DiNucci all of those reps, and if I got to cut rosters, if I have to cut players I otherwise normally wouldn't, I got to make some tough decisions. So I'm going to go with one fewer quarterback. I'm going to cut Clayton Thorson. I'm going to let Ben DiNucci take over and be the number 3 guy, and we'll see if he can earn a roster spot or not. Now, speaking of DiNucci, and I'm going to make this the pin comment because, damn, I am fascinated what your guys' responses are going to be. What is the % chance that Ben DiNucci will start a game, just one game, in his NFL career? If you get the ad break here on YouTube, this is your chance. Scroll on down there and let me know what you think. Let's go to, there are actually 2 long snappers on this team. Joe Fortunato, you've never heard of him, and that's okay because there's like not many people who are ever supposed to hear about the backup long snapper. You don't need 2 of them. Now, you carry 2 because you want to give LP a breather because he doesn't normally need training camp. I got to cut players. I don't need to carry 2 long snappers. It's just not required. It's not necessary. We'll get to somebody else on this particular depth chart here in just a second as well. But for me, that was actually the easiest decision. Cut the backup long snapper. Now, it's a difficult game to play, and I feel bad saying that the Cowboys need to cut individual players right now. But name a Cowboys player that you think should be cut. I'm actively picking bottom of the roster guys, so you're not going to see Tyrone Crawford. But there is one bigger name the Cowboys should cut right now. That is Chris Jones. Get him out of here. Don't need him on the roster. Now, in reality, this doesn't actually help you get down to 80-man limits because you have to also add a punter, but also who cares? Just cut the punter already. He's not good. I know he had those cool fake punts and rocked that one guy on punt coverage. You can save almost $2 million by cutting the statistically worst punter in the NFL last season. Why wouldn't you do that? Go sign Lack Edwards or somebody else you've never heard of as your punter. He can put up worse stats in the NFL and save you about $1.5 million once you pay him too. Like, this is a no-brainer for me. I feel almost kind of bad that I'm, destroying Chris Jones so much, but guess what? This is a business. I'm trying to win football games. Don't punt to begin with. But that's beside the point. Save the nearly $2 million by cutting your bad punter. It's an easy A for me. I have nothing against Chris Jones the person. Sure, he's an awesome guy, but he wasn't a good punter for the past 3 years. Why would I pay him? If you disagree, type in B and please explain why for me as well. Cowboys player-themed face masks are also available, no punters included, but there is Zeke Elliott, there's CeeDee Lamb as well, and there's also a Dak Prescott one too. They are all available at chatsports.com/player mask. I prefer that blue variation. It's actually cheaper than the gray one. Go check out the full available allotment at chatsports.com/player mask. That link will be in the comments and in the description. All right, now I know producer Brett has heard of punter Chris Jones. Has he heard of center Marcus Henry, though? No, of course he hasn't. And that's the whole point of this, right? We're finding the guys the Cowboys don't need to roster, and they should just cut. Now, he was on the practice squad last year. But if I'm the Cowboys, I'm looking at my roster and go, crap, I got to cut 10 guys. Okay, well, I got Joe Looney. I got Tyler Biadasz. Connor McGovern can play center. Adam Redmond, in reality, is a center, but who can play guard. He's better than Marcus Henry. Why do I need a guy that would be fifth in this center competition? Exactly, I don't. So, unfortunately, if you do have to trim down to 80, I'm going to cut Marcus Henry. I am also going to cut somebody not even pictured on that depth chart. That's Wyatt Miller, who did technically, very briefly, actually make it onto the roster at the end of last season when everyone got hurt, but he didn't play a game. He was also on the Bengals practice squad, which is a very bad sign for me, because if you can't make the Bengals team on the offensive line, with the worst team in the NFL and the worst offensive line in the NFL, I don't think really much of an option there. So Miller and Marcus Henry, I'm going to move on from those guys on the offensive line. Now, I do think there's a good idea to be had here for the NFL. That's expanding the rosters. That's going to help out the UDFAs, who I only have one listed on this list, by the way. Going to help the guys who are in that not quite top 60. Maybe could have been a practice squad guy, but hey, you know what? If you have to expand the rosters because of illnesses, I think it makes sense. I think it's a good path for the NFL. If you agree, type Y for yes. If you don't, type N for no. A couple of you guys, big fans of Savion Smith. Don't really know why, to be quite honest. Didn't like him that much coming out of Alabama. Played for the Jags in the preseason. Didn't make the roster. Went to the XFL's Houston Roughnecks. And here's my issue for Smith and another guy we'll get to. I know that Chidobe Awuzie, Jordan Lewis, Anthony Brown, Trevon Diggs, Robinson, Darryl Worley, Maurice Canaday, and TJ Goodwin are all going to make a hypothetical roster before Savion Smith. That's a lot of dudes that I just listed off, and they're probably not all going to make the team. So because of that, I'm cutting Smith, and I'm going to cut producer Brett's favorite Cowboy, Deontay Burton. I'm sorry, Brett. I apologize for it. Also briefly made the roster last year, and he's bounced around for a while. The Packers, the Falcons, the Texans. He played receiver at Kansas State, by the way. In the end, for you, the people, I chose to keep Chris Westry instead because I know how you guys feel about him. And we went through a lot of corners on that depth chart. You can make an argument for 7 or 8 guys the Cowboys should carry. Not sure they're going to go that many. So let me know in the comments section how many cornerbacks you think the Cowboys should roster in 2020, assuming, of course, it's a 53-man roster and not an expanded one like I think the NFL should do. Let's get to receiver now. A lot of different routes to go here, too. I'm going to keep the undrafted free agents because who knows what they could be. They could be anything. They could be a boat. Tevin Jones, instead, was on the practice squad at the end of last year, and actually, unlike the vast majority of these guys that we've mentioned so far, he actually played last year. Not for the Cowboys, but for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 4 catches and not a whole lot else, but that's playing time. I think, though, there are more intriguing young options on this roster. I want to see what John Vay Johns can do with another year. I want to see how Noah Brown and Cedric Wilson come back from their injuries. I want to see what those undrafted free agents have to offer. Maybe one of them can impress. I'm not convinced it's going to be Tevin Jones in the end. Again, those Cowboys player face masks, one more time for you guys. I'll put that link in the comments and in the description. NFL's announced if you're going to go to games this year, you have to wear a mask, so you might as well rock the Cowboys while you do it. I like that CeeDee Lamb one. That one will last you at least a few years if we hopefully don't. But if we need them, chatsports.com/player mask. They've got them in 2-packs. Again, that link is in the comments and it's in the description. Let's go to tight end now. Cole Picatinny. You got options at tight end, and I thought about cutting Charlie T or Sean McHugh and some of those undrafted free agents. I'm going to go with the more veteran option there. He was on the practice squad last year. I don't think he's better than Dalton Schultz. He's not better than Blake Bell. Let's see what the young guys get. So I'm going to gamble on the true unknowns and take more of a risk that maybe these more experienced younger guys don't actually end up panning out. Now, I said there were no undrafted free agents except for one. Here it is, LaDarius Hamilton. Now, he was productive at North Texas, and I tried to keep as many UDFAs as I could. The issue is I got to cut a defensive end here. And that's the tricky part, right? Randy Gregory doesn't count, so I can't cut him. You're not going to cut Tank. You're not going to cut Crawford right now. Alden Smith, Armstrong, Bradley and I, Joe Jackson, Jalen Jokes. I'm keeping those guys. You paid Rondell Carter a decent amount of money for as an undrafted free agent, and I like Azur Kamara more, even though he's a Kansas guy who producer Brett hates. He hates that school with a passion. But he can play some linebacker for you too. LaDarius Hamilton can't. So he seems most likely to be the unfortunate odd man out. I want to try and keep those undrafted free agents, but if I got to trim from 90 to 80, there might be more than just one who ends up getting cut, unfortunately. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.